Welcome to the Mucked Up My Self-Care podcast.
I'm Jill from New York.
And I'm Linda from Tasmania.
We are two moms from opposite sides of the world who are living, demonstrating, and helping moms across the world build their self-care asset bank.
Ready to dive in? Messy, interrupted, imperfect, and most of all, mucked up. Let's get going. We're finally here.
Okay.
100 episodes in, and we're still having technical issues, of course. Now, welcome to everyone who's joining us in our live audience for this very special celebration. Now, if you've listened to some episodes before, you'll realise that we start with highs and lows of our day. And Jill, I'm going to get you to go first and share very quickly some highs and lows while I sort out these guys, and we go from there.
So let's see. My high for this week is definitely our 100th episode and the celebration that we have going around it. I am super excited to be doing this, and I cannot believe that we've made it almost 2 full years, but at 100 episodes now. So it's extremely something worth celebrating, in my opinion. I'm very excited about this. And my lows, my low for this week is I just have not been feeling good in my tummy for the last couple of days, and it has been bothering me in how I maneuver my day. So I am super uncomfortable lately, and it's just got me kind of feeling a little bleh, and I really don't like it. So that's my low.
Yep. All right. And off the back of that, my low would be having 2 children who are sick today, who in my ideal world would have been at school and daycare, but are in my vicinity, which is hilarious, really, being that this is the show for interruptions and mucking up self-care and all the rest of it. My high is being surrounded by all of you right now and celebrating 100 episodes, even though we had a technical hiccup or two at the beginning. And also just catching myself this morning thinking, gosh, why can't I just get some reliable work time? Like nothing's reliable. And then turning up here and going, well, actually, look at this. I do have reliability. I do have a lot that I can be so grateful for right now. And just being able to stop and think, isn't that interesting that reliability is coming up, and where am I maybe not being quite so reliable as I need to be? And how can I think about this a little bit differently? So that's definitely been high in the messiness of all of this mucking up as well. So absolutely awesome. So Jill, we would love to share a little bit about the podcast itself before I dive in, how we met and the significance of 100 episodes and all the rest of it. We have someone sitting with us on this recording, which is Princess Kim White. And she was the one that, what do we say, voluntold us.
Yep.
Basically said, hey, I think you two should do a podcast together.
I think it was a group effort. I will say we were ganged up on by a lot of people in the community that said, these two would be really great together. And Kim was able to just weave the pieces together. And here we are. It
was like, start next month.
Yeah.
Get dived in. Don't. And she challenged me, of course, to have it very raw and real and interrupted and unedited, which still sometimes makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable because I'm used to editing in the background. So it's been quite an epic journey, how far we've come.
Yes, it definitely has. And it's exciting to see a lot of the different statistics that I'm not used to paying attention to on the businessy side, because I'm all in this for a hobby, and really it's going to help us both out all the ways around. So we kind of went through some of our stats and not just revisited our origins and how we got together and started this around Mother's Day, but some of the other pieces that just kind of stood out about um, how far we're coming over this last 2 years.
Mhm. We've had 676 days, which the podcast has been live. Maybe 677 for me because I'm in the future. So that's 1 year, 10 months, 3 days ago, we started essentially doing self-care together, which is pretty crazy. There's been 2,329 minutes of podcast episodes into the world so far. This will take it up over about 40 hours of podcasts that we've recorded. We've been listened to in over 30 countries as well. We've even had people listening via their Alexa, which is which is funny because we feel like we've also assisted probably with over 1,200 loads of laundry and washing. While other people are listening to this podcast, we've had a significant number of downloads, and again, we're so grateful that um, we could share that all the way up to 100 and then onwards towards 200 as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exciting. It's and you were even piecing this one together. There's 100 letter tiles in the Scrabble game.
Yeah.
So just the way that we're like kind of seeing all these different things line up, but um, we've grown a lot with that as our numbers are growing and the amount of time that we're putting into producing the podcast as well and having really good conversations. That's all grown together as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm.
And I think what's significant for us is the shift that we've had in our approach to self care, in the way that we're talking about self care, in the way we're even thinking about self care, not only for mothers, but for everybody across the world as well, in realizing that it doesn't have to be yoga retreats and spa baths and all the extra crazy flamboyant things that we think it needs to be. Self-care can actually be fit into lots of little moments. And sometimes we even are doing self-care without realizing that we're doing self-care as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we learned a lot about being aware of what we constitute self-care as for ourselves and how we can share what it means to be doing some self-care in better ways. Sometimes breaking it all the way back down to the simple when we first started figuring out what self-care was to begin with.
Mm, absolutely. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I know we want to take a trip down memory lane and talk about some of the behind the scenes of some of our episodes that we've picked out and kind of chat about what might have been happening behind the scenes and kind of like what's going on tonight with little ones knocking on doors and barging in.
hmm hmm
As well as like what are some of the vulnerable pieces that were going on behind the scenes for us as well. And
But just accepting the fact that, yeah, sometimes self-care is really mucked up. And sometimes it's with 4 kids in tow, or with not having a shower for a few days, or with all sorts of other things that mean we don't have to have it perfect, and we don't have to think that we need to live up to some sort of guidelines or expectations. And it's okay to muck it up rather than get it right. Wow, Jill, that was episode 55.
yeah.
And that was that one we were actually talking about how self-care has grown since our earlier episodes. What comes up for you when you look back on that and hear that
I
conversation?
Well, I really like what you even said there about it being like it's okay that we muck it up. Like there's no rules on we have to have it perfect or be a certain way or fit into a certain definition to be considered self-care. So that work that you and I have done throughout these episodes, and that's halfway through our journey in this podcast, that now we're saying it again, another 50 episodes later, that obviously we're onto something, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, like I already touched on a little bit about how we have really thought about self-care very differently. But I also know that these podcast recordings and 100 episodes have been a great source of self-care in itself. So us getting together every week, sometimes twice a week, to record a podcast is a form of self-care as
Mhm.
well. And it's how we have grown. It's how we've had conversations. It's how we've developed a beautiful friendship. It's how we've been reliable to each other. And it's something now that we can really look forward to as
Yeah,
well. Mm,
yeah.
every
And
every week.
since we do have a live audience with us as we're recording this. I'm reading some of the comments in our chat, and one of our friends, Donna, she said we came up without a user manual, and I think that's very
Mhm,
appropriate for that. It's because we're figuring it out, like you were saying.
mm,
Yeah.
mm, 100%. Yeah. All right, shall we go down the memory lane again? Let's
Yes.
go way back. Let's go
All
way
right.
back when. Ugh. Episode 4. Oh my gosh.
Okay, so this one is from our Mother's Day episode.
Yeah,
I got to be alone for a nice few hours,
exactly.
and I actually
Yeah.
wrote the first chapter of my next book. So I'm like, okay, done. Ah,
That's very exciting. Yeah. I did
yes.
buy myself a gift as well, just in case I didn't
Woo.
get one.
I bought all my own gifts too.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. And I got one as well. So that was nice.
I'm I'm trying to remember this, and then on Linda, when we were picking out which pieces we wanted to share today, you were so generous and excited that we were going to share another big milestone that I had. But I think we both had something very enlightening for ourselves for Mother's Day happen this this specific Mother's Day, and how we took care of ourselves in some really good self-care.
Mm, mm.
What
And
is it?
prioritizing ourselves,
Yeah,
really. Making sure that we were included in Mother's Day by essentially buying ourselves a gift or making sure we got some time alone or working on projects that are really important to us. And we've both birthed books in the time that we've been recording together as well.
yeah,
So I have loved to celebrate alongside you and watch the growth that has come from that as well,
yeah,
while essentially mucking up all of the self-care at the same time. And yeah, just thinking back to those moments where we were celebrating together is pretty cool. But all the way back in episode 4, we even knew that we had to prioritize ourselves and self-care, and it's just developed from there.
yeah, yeah. And I think we can see a clear difference in how we're taking care of ourselves after we do something big, like publish a book or have a big celebration for 100 episodes. So looking
Yeah.
forward to talking about what we did for some self-care the next week.
All right, let's keep going.
So our next one clip is from our episode 39, where we were talking about self-care and energy leaks.
I think the thing that's helped me the most with that part and like how learning how to process these tantrums is that remembering that I was born at the same time that my son was born as a mom. And Linda, each time you have a child, you have been reborn also because it's now the first day that you are you since this child has come into this world. So I learned at the same time my child was learning how to deal with my emotions in a completely
Yeah,
brand new way.
yeah. I actually just wanted to let that one linger for a second for you and for everyone listening, because being reborn, we're doing that constantly, whether, not just in motherhood, but in business, but in relationships, in all sorts of ways. But it's just really profound to me to be alongside you in a way that means we can share highs and lows and can sit here and realize how far we've come and recognize when we have energy leaking out like a hole in a cup sort of thing as well.
I think we've had a lot to learn because, hey, I never took care of a kid up until I had my own, like
Mhm.
we don't learn those things, and we don't learn sometimes about self-care either. So the new things that we learn when we take on a new role means we have to discover how to take care of ourselves in a different way. So it's very um what is the word? You're encouraging as I get to work alongside you, Linda, in doing that. And I love that we get to encourage other new moms in how they can work on their self-care as well. Well, we've had some fun episodes to go through. And I think there's one more that I want to play because it has some really fun behind the scenes, like some of the silly that happens.
The realities, the realities.
So we'll play this episode
Okay.
from a recent one. It's actually episode 95, where we're actually very, very vulnerable in the episode because of our exhaustion levels, but also talking ironically about being vulnerable as well.
Yep. I tried to explain it to my 4-year-old last night that mum needs to recharge her batteries, otherwise she'll be flat like a pancake. And so when he goes to bed, that's my time to recharge my batteries, and I need a little bit of time to do that. And that's also what self-care is, I guess. Yeah.
Where's your flashlight?
Yeah.
Down here.
Yeah. Now I've got a ball in my face, almost.
Enough, Declan. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness.
Yep.
Life. This is real life.
This is so very true of how we live. And so when things are falling apart, obviously the vulnerability is higher.
Big time.
That's our reality. I heard you had things going on in the background of like, where's my flashlight? Where's my this? Where's my that? Everything else.
And I think that was one of the random ones that we did the opposite time, because we haven't recorded it in this time frame right now in a while. So it threw everybody off.
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest takeaways, I guess, throughout this whole process is the thought that you need to have things in place or close to perfect to show up and get through. There's a lot of times in my life where I probably thought, I can't record a podcast because I've got 4 kids. I can't record a podcast because I've got no idea what I'm doing. Or all those sort of things where you think it needs to be edited and polished and without interruptions and all of those things. Now I think we've normalized hopefully a little bit more for those around us. and and yeah, like we realize that it will be vulnerable at times. There will be interruptions at times. There will be people climbing all over you at times and trying to find things and knocking on the door or being very quiet and not quite knowing what's going on, because that can be just as scary at the other end as well. So yeah. So Jill, I'd love to know, aside from all the interruptions that we've had, was there a certain point in our 100 episodes when you think we had a bit of a light bulb moment or a shift in our thinking when we realized perhaps that it's okay to not know what you're doing, or it's okay that self-care today is just making sure I remember to brush my teeth, or like all those sort of things. What are those sort of moments for you?
It's usually when I have a good amount of self-care that I'm like, oh, I was really needing this. And I get the realization of like, we need to keep looking back at it. But it must have been early on in our recordings together, because I know it was right after I called my friend Sonia, who is here with us today as we're recording, when Declan was just a few weeks old, that I, needed help in my postpartum journey. But she asked right away, well, what am I doing to take care of myself? I was like, a shower happened. And we even talked about this in an early episode too. And like basic self-care, like basic needs are not self-care when it's, we need to brush our teeth and, get clean and stuff. So when I first had my like true what's real self-care stuff didn't come right away because I didn't really know what it was. So I think especially through this podcast, I got tons of light bulbs of the things that I've been doing the last 2 years prior that were self-care. So I don't know if that's
Yeah.
exactly specific times things that come up.
Mm,
Like, oh, this is a
mm.
great thing that I do in self-care. My favorite is being outside and barefoot in the grass, realizing that during the sunny times, that way gets me the most endorphins possibly. And
Yeah,
just
I
rejuvenation.
think I remember a moment where I think you might have realized, oh, hang on a sec. I can get my barefoot in the grass when I'm picking up dog poo.
Yeah.
Awesome. I can get self-care alongside dog poo. It was pretty cool to listen to that and laugh in a way that was, you know, helpful for both of us to
Mhm.
understand, yes, we can fit it into little moments and it's okay as
What
well.
is your light bulb for self-care, Linda?
Oh, goodness. That it is essentially that it is interrupted and mixed in its emotions sometimes. Like there are emotions that go alongside self-care and they range from being lonely or sad or scared to elated and delighted and um, just fulfilled and all sorts of things, and just being much more accepting, I think, of all of the nuances that go into self-care has been, there have been lots of those little mini light bulbs, and it's been a gradual process, but there's been a few episodes where I think we've really there was one that we did about rage vacuuming, which I really loved because I can tend to be a rage vacuumer. If I'm really frustrated or angry about something, I'll get out the vacuum and tear
Yeah.
around the house and watch out for the Lego because I want to suck it all up, and it's okay. And that can actually help me feel much better. And I think some other people can relate to that as well.
Yes, yes.
Those-
Yvonne actually just commented that she's done lots of rage vacuuming and cleaning in her lifetime.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So, Jill, we want to just address a couple of the questions that we got in the chat.
definitely.
We might just do those between us for now, rather than trying to bring people off mute at the moment. We'll do that
Yeah.
just after we end the recording together.
All right. Perfect. Do you want me to
The
go
audience
read
we
the one
have.
that we have
Sure.
first?
Yep,
Great.
exactly.
So our friend Jody has asked us a question. She asked, she'd love to hear our perspectives around how we're so deeply in need of self-care because our villages aren't providing the community care that would be standard in a healthy culture. Great question.
I feel like you need to answer this one
Oh
first, Jill.
goodness. I feel like there is a great need for our villages to give us some encouragement and confidence that we can do self-care in different ways and those ideas on how we can. So it's definitely a big need. I know for me, I searched hard. I had to search really hard for a good village at the first few months postpartum for myself. And even also to even go beyond just motherhood, but for entrepreneurship, because that's exhausting in itself too, to put our minds to work that way. I think they do go hand in hand. And we kind of talk about that frequently, Linda, pulling both aspects in.
Mm.
That, we have people on our side, encouraging us to rest when we need to, go take a nap if you have the ability to do it. What can someone else pick the slack up for you over here for? So we don't always get that from our nuclear families, and we do need to rely on people that we can collect around us to be part of our village.
Mm. Mm. Yep. And I think we collect those in different ways and in different stages of our lives as well. So I know for me that, excuse me, I know I definitely still am searching hard sometimes for the village, and am so deeply grateful to have the online world now where I can connect across the world. That's also been amazing for me. And I think we're just the deep need for self-care is also linked fairly closely for the deep need to know ourselves outside being a mother.
Mm-hmm.
And that gets so lost sometimes in business or motherhood or all of those things. And I don't feel like yet that I have the support that I need at all. Sometimes physically, like here in this space at home. I have much of that online with the people in this space right now. I have it with you, Jill. I have it with Jody. I have it with Donna's. I have with nearly everybody here on this call. And I think we've also had to shift our ideas around what a healthy culture looks like since COVID as well. Like still, I feel like I'm still feeling the effects of that. Prior to COVID, I felt like I could make friends a lot easier on school drop-offs, school pickups, things like that. Now, there's still, because through COVID, we were encouraged not to go to the classroom, not to go to the school, not to go to all sorts of, too close in physical contact, which meant I was missing a lot of those conversations that I had prior to that time. And it's only really just starting to come back a little bit now that I've got a COVID baby in school. But even then, some people are still very cautious as well. So there's been a big shift, and it still is shifting. Yeah.
It is. One of my friends in the audience, she's Khadijah, she messaged because that it took her a while to create a village because she couldn't find a village.
Mm.
But bridging that gap, helping mothers to create villages, that gives us the power to have village and to
Yeah.
to create our own. I mean, it's a hard work to do that, to create your own village, but I think it's a necessary step in supporting yourself with others who want to support you too. So I'm glad we have this podcast that we can
Yeah.
start a little bit of that heavy lift for someone and having a place that they can come and feel like they are a part of a conversation, that they get to hear what it's like for other moms too. So
Mm.
I think we are bridging that gap in what we do here, Linda. So
I hope so. I hope so.
and I want to say for the next 100 episodes, that is the game plan, is to continue building that kind of a self-care village through these episodes. So
Yep.
I think,
100%.
yeah.
Yeah.
exciting 100 episodes in and another 100 to keep going with, right?
Yeah. Um, now I know that Dr. Donna had to leave, but she's just talked about when the roles are reversed and caregiving. And they joke a little bit about the sandwich generation, how, you've got kids you're caring for, you've got parents you're caring for, and then you're sort of feeling very stretched and squished in the middle. And again, self-care is paramount, really, in those times as well. Even though you're the one doing a lot of the caring, it can be. I watched as my mum looked after her mum as a teenager, and there were definitely times where I believe she could have used a lot more self-care and a village as well.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think a village and the people we surround ourselves with support is based on a role or an age.
exactly. Yep. Yep.
Oh.
Um, do we have any other questions there? I like the rage vacuuming Yvonne. It's like, it's definitely a great way to clean the house. It's my ulterior motive. Yeah. And thank you again for all the wonderful, wonderful comments. Yeah.
Well, this was fun episode, Linda, and I think we have to wrap it up now
Mm.
and say lastly, thank you to all who have been participating in the episode with us as we record this fun live audience recorded episode, as well as you listening who make it possible for us to be encouraged to continue doing this because we know you need people in your corner and your village. So we hope that you enjoy this episode and we will keep sending you positive vibes for your self-care.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. So until next week, Linda.
Oh, yes. We hope you can unstuck your muck for the 100th time.
Bye.
Bye.